In today's video, I'm going to show you how to do couching using the embroidery function on the Janome CM17. Hi, I'm Jamieson-Hirst of Chatterbox Quilts, and you may have seen some of my other videos where I've showed you how to do couching on the Janome CM17 and some other models, but you might not know that you can do couching using the embroidery module on this machine. So there's different feet and different accessories you need to use to do that, and I want to show those to you first before we actually get into the couching itself. So, different feet. So you are doing machine embroidery, but there are two machine embroidery couching feet, if you will. Okay, they're called PC1 and PC2. So this is what they look like. So I know they're very small, aren't they? And I'm going to show you close up in just a second, but this is PC1 and this is PC2. It's sort of like thing 1 and thing 2, right? And it says their name is on here. Okay, I'll show you that in just a second. And the differences between these, the difference I should say, there's only one really, between these two is, besides their name, okay, maybe there is two, is the size of the hole in the foot. So let's take a closer look at these. So here is PC1. So you can see the hole in the foot there, okay, very small. They're both very small, actually, when you think about it. Here's PC2, so it's a little bit bigger. So if you can see the two of them together, you can see that PC1, which is this one, is a little bit smaller than PC2, which is this one, okay? And it's important to choose the right foot to use, and that depends on the type of material you want to couch. So obviously things that are thinner, cords, threads, yarn, whatever you're using, are going to work with PC1. But if you get a little bit bigger, so say a medium weight yarn, you're going to have to use PC2, all right? So there's the feet first off. So there are some other accessories you need to use too, and let's start from the top. So this is the sub-thread guide stick, and what it does, it's going to go over your existing thread mast, and you're going to put your yarn in this area. So your yarn is going to go through here. Okay, I'll have a photo to show you later on of what that's going to look like when we've got it all installed. But you can see that it goes through this little holder here before it comes down and goes into the needle area. Now, speaking of the needle area, there's another accessory, and these all come with the Janome CM17, by the way, okay? So there's this other accessory, this kind of yarn holder, and you can see that it's got two little areas here, two little cones, and that's to carry the yarn before it goes into the needle area. And it's going to actually clamp on, there's an area here that's open, and it actually clamps onto your needle bar screw area. Okay, so let's take a closer look here. Here's this area here, and it's going to go onto, right onto here and push in. I'm not going to do that quite yet, but one thing you want to be aware of when you're doing that is to make sure that you've tightened up your needle clamp, all right? If it's a bit loose when you go to put this on, it may loosen up a little bit more, and the next thing you know is your needle's moving, and that is not going to be good, right? Okay, so let's take a closer look at these two little holders in here. So you can see there's two, obviously. One on the left is for PC1, which was the thinner foot, if you will. The bottom part of the foot is a smaller hole. And then this one is what you would use, that's where you put the yarn through if you're using PC2, so for thicker threads, all right? Let's take a look at this yarn. So this is a medium weight yarn that I've got here, just an acrylic yarn, and it's definitely not going to work with my PC1 foot. I know that already. I'm going to have to use it with the PC2, so that's what I'm going to put on the machine. But I did say there were two different sizes of these yarn holders, right? And I said the one on the right was for the PC2. So what I do is I just put my yarn over top here. I'm going to hold it with my thumb, and you can see that there's slits in the side here. Let's see if you can see those closer up. There's some little slits in the side. So I just need to hold my yarn over top of the yarn holder I want to put it in, pull it taut against one of those slits, and it just pops right in, okay? So you can see that it's feeding in there okay. I can move it. It doesn't come back easily, okay, because it's a cone thing. It goes down, but as long as I can pull it easily through, I know that I can use this yarn. It's going to work for me, okay? If I couldn't pull it through there, then I've got a yarn that's too big. It's not going to work for couching at all, okay? So let's just leave him there for now because I've got him set up. Why not just leave him there, right? I've also got the single stitch needle plate in. I have the same thread in the bobbin as in the top, and that thread is one that I chose to match the yarn color that I'm using, okay? Because you will see the thread a little bit, so match it to the yarn you're using, unless you want it to be something totally different for effect, okay? All right, so let's go over to my... Now, not every design is good for couching, right? A really intricate, dense embroidery design is not good for couching, right? You're going to have all this yarn just all over top of itself, not going to work very well at all. Your machine's probably not going to like it either. So before I get anything set up and choose my embroidery design, I want to make sure I put my hoop on. Now I'm using the RE20D hoop, a smaller hoop. And I know that when I choose a design on here that it's going to work with that hoop, okay? I've already checked this out. So you want to be in your home menu and you're going to choose the embroidery mode. And then what I want to do is to go into that first category. And so you can see all the different choices. You have all these different categories. And I know that the couching design is in category 27. So I will just move along to that. You can find that in your manual too, by the way. And then you can see 27 is right there. I can press on. So I have 3 different pages on, or in the couching area, I should say. And I am going to keep it very simple. I'm going to go with the rows. So I'm just going to choose that particular one, which is number 1. It's going to tell me that that hoop is going to move. It's going to get in the position to do my design. And when I'm in this area here, I want to make sure I've got the right foot selected. So I'm going to go down here and it's automatically going to choose our regular embroidery foot, but I want to be using PC2. So I want to make sure I choose that. All right, and so now you can see that the screen has changed and it's showing me that I'm using PC2, so that couching foot. And I'm also making sure that I am down to 400 stitches per minute, just using my slider. You can see that's what it's showing me here as well. And we only have one color on this one, so, well, 2 things, one color. So we've got the yarn and we've got the thread to match the yarn. So it's going to be a quick design, only takes a couple of minutes. And that's all you need to do to get this set up and ready to sew. So I like to go in, choose my design first, then I get my machine set up properly. Okay, so setting up properly, what am I doing? Well, I've taken my yarn, I have attached my sub-thread guide stick on the top of my thread guide, and I've got it in there and I've got my yarn through it. Okay, it just holds it. And then I need to put on 2 more things. I need to put on my foot and I need to put on the yarn guide. Next thing to do is to put this yarn holder on the needle clamp. Okay, it just kind of slides in. And just a reminder to make sure that needle clamp is nice and tight before you do that. Don't over tighten, but make sure it's tight, because moving this on, it might make it loosen a little bit. You don't want to have that. Okay, so that's feeding down. Okay, that's good. I need to put on my foot as well. So I'll just get that on there. It fits in from the front a little differently than most feet. I'm going to tighten that up. We're going to get out. I need to get the thread and the yarn through the foot. Okay, so there is a little slit in the foot, hard to see, and you may want to pull out your thread quite a ways to do this. Okay, and I'm going to try and show you. It's hard to do this, on camera, but I'm pulling it out to the left, coming in from underneath, and you hear it just pop in to that little slit on the side there. Okay, so now my yarn is, or my thread is in. I'm just going to cut off the little bit there. Okay, and I actually want to pull it. I want to have it stay in that thread holder at the top. Keep it out of the way for now. All right. So now that I've got my thread in, I need to get the yarn in. So give yourself some extra yarn, just like we did with the thread. You're going to pull it over to the left side, and you're going to go underneath, and you're going to pull it into that slot. Okay, so we've got that in there. Okay, it looks like my thread has popped itself out. Don't worry, I will put it back in again too, and then we'll be all ready to go. I think, I hope. There we go. Okay, so everybody's in there, right? Everybody's happy. Everybody's ready to start couching their design, right? Okay, so that's the toughest part, right? Getting it all set up. But once you've got it all set up here, that's going to keep that yarn from getting really tangled up. You want to make sure you've got a bunch of extra yarn there, but it's going to feed through nicely, all right? Don't worry about your extra yarn up front here. You can give it a little bit of a snip if you want to cut some of that off. Thread as well. Okay, so we've got our rows ready to go. It's on the lowest speed at 400, so you want to take your time when you're doing this couching. It tells me it's going to take 2 minutes to do, okay? This is an open, easy little design to do. And once everything is all set up, ready to go, you just push the start-stop button and let the machine do its magic. And I will say that after it takes a few stitches, I will stop it, because I'm not sure how this design is going to be created, and I'm going to cut off that yarn at the front. I can trim it closer later, but let's cut off as much as we can. Start, stop, and away we go. All right, so we finished our design. So it's cut my threads, but of course it doesn't cut the yarn. So I'm just going to cut the yarn up top here. We can pull it down through here. Get it out of the way. And I will bring the hoop out and show you what that looks like. So here's the final result. You can see this rose design that's stitched out looks very nice, and it only took 2 minutes. Couple of minutes, absolutely a couple minutes, 2 minutes to stitch out, and that was on the 400 stitches per minute. And as I mentioned before, you want to make sure that you do your couching on a slower speed, just to make sure that the needle is always going to catch the yarn with the top and bobbin thread. So while I've showed you how to do this couching with an embroidery machine with the Janome CM17, you might be wondering if you can do couching if you don't have an embroidery machine. And the answer is yes, you can. So be sure to check out this video where I give you information on how to do that. For more helpful quilting information, be sure to go to my website at www.chatterboxquilts.com.